I just make sure this gets to her before the end of the day.
Yeah, before she leaves. Okay. We're going to do it now.
Jewelry machine.
Installating in the pink jacket right here.
Okay, amazing.
I think that's
amazing. Thank you. Service leader today. I'm so sorry I'm late. I'm really excited. Hi, Ender.
On Joy's concerns.
Okay.
Some people, because the little ones get hidden by everybody in the
Oh,
footnotes,
okay,
so
cool.
bring them everybody up front and like move the mic up.
Okay,
here,
yeah,
so everyone gets to
absolutely.
see us and-
So they can be well seen. Got it.
Sometimes the movies are better, Harry Potter was pretty good for being a book.
What does a waterfall sound like? Shh. Hello. Welcome, welcome. My name is Chloe McElroy. I use she, her pronouns. I am standing in front of you in a pansexual themed dress, and I have red wavy hair for those who cannot see me. I will be your service leader this morning. I would like to remind everyone that it is still been 4 years since 2020. Hi, Maisie. It's been 4 years since 2020, and it's still COVID. I know that we're not masking as much anymore, but please remember that if you're not feeling well and you don't want to bring your germs here, we have a lovely community on Zoom that is run by Happy Amin, and we appreciate you keeping that space open for anybody who can't be here in person. Or we also have YouTube for those who don't feel like just talking and greeting one another. You can just stream on YouTube and keep all your germs at home until you're feeling better. We appreciate that. And also, it is still flu season, so make sure we're getting those updated boosters and flu shots. Righty. We would also like to take note of the exits. We've got an exit stand right over here where David McElroy is standing. We have an exit going this way where Maisie was greeting us from, going out to the RE building. Then we also have an exit going out behind that way out to the Memorial Garden. Apparently this one is harder to get through, so don't try this one. But there is one behind me. But try those first. Okay, and please silence all your doodads. So any things that make noise that you can silence electronically, at least, please silence those. Appreciate that. And then I will also like to invite people up for committee moments. So if you are representing any committee or anything such as that, please come in and share.
Hi, Melanie from the board. We have two opportunities for generous giving. One is that we need to have some of our trees significantly trimmed to protect our buildings in case of a storm. And in case you've missed it, Milton is heading towards Florida. So check the Weather Channel periodically. And so that's $4,800 that we had not budgeted for. And then the other one is the safety locks for this building. We are having to go a different route than what we originally planned. And so that's an additional $6,000 that we had not budgeted for. So there's two main ways to give. There's the QR code, which will take you to the donation page on our website. Just slightly scroll down to where you see trees and locks. Put in however much you like to donate, and then in the text box, put what you're donating for. If it's the trees, the locks, and if it's for both, you can just put both. And then we do appreciate that. You can also just write a check, and in the memo line, just write what it's for. And this is in addition to your pledge, not instead of. And as always, if you have any questions, you can call me, text me, or email me, or speak to me here at church. I'm usually here on Sundays. Thank you.
Joey Cole for SAC, our Social Action Committee. We are writing postcards again this afternoon after service for Orange County this time, Seminole County this time. So if you have some time to donate after service, where you can join us in writing postcards, we'd certainly appreciate it. I also might point out for those of you that I don't know if this was in the notable news, but I'm sure we can find out how to get you online. First Church is doing an online thing for from the League of Women Voters about the amendments, explaining the amendments. And I got my mail-in ballot yesterday, so I'm going to try to be watching that because I want to get it in as soon as possible, as I'm sure you do. Oh, it's on Facebook for First Church. And it's at 12, and I believe it runs till 1, maybe 1:30, but at any rate. Okay, so I hope to see some of you with postcards as well. Thank you.
Hello, David McElroy for the Men's Support Group. That will be on October 24th. However, next week is the Oktoberfest, where the men's group will be cooking for, and I haven't talked to everybody yet, but anyway, cooking for the Oktoberfest, and hopefully, the storm will miss us and we won't have any stuff with that. So anyway, if you have any questions about the men's group, see me afterwards, and we'll go from there. That's what I said. That's what I said. I just wanted to see if anybody was paying attention. And Peter here was paying attention where I was not. It's the 21st. Thank you, Peter. Appreciate that.
By the way, the 24th is a special day, by the way. Someone's turning another decade old. So anyway, that's another issue. It's your birthday too? On the 24th? Oh my gosh, how cool is that?
So many Libras.
No, they're
Oh wait,
Scorpios.
no, not Libra. Sorry, I'm a Libra.
I am here, two things. I just got a text from Kelly that the tie-dye party will be this Friday, pending anything that may happen with the storm. So keep an eye out for your email. If you haven't paid for your shirt yet, you can pay on Friday with a check or cash or Venmo, or you can go on our website. And then I have Kathy Spoon here from 1U. 1U reached out to us late August to try to do more things together, socially and all of that good stuff. And we're so excited about that. So Kathy's going to tell you about a Halloween party that they're having coming up, and I'm hoping that we can be part of that as well as a Thanksgiving event. So you take it away.
Sure. Thank you. Yes, our fellowship committee is just kind of getting back together after COVID. So we're trying to do a monthly event. We have a Halloween party October the 25th, Friday, 6 to 9, and I've brought some cards if you guys want to grab that. It's more adult teen themed. We're going to provide food. It's a dress up. We're going to have games. So if any of that sounds interesting, we'd love to have you in our main hall there, Gore Hall. And then for Thanksgiving, I know you guys used to do the day of Thanksgiving. We did as well, but we've moved to the day after Thanksgiving. So we're having a day after Thanksgiving lunch, the Friday after Thanksgiving. And we'll probably need to do like a sign-up genie with you guys if you're interested. And then in spring, we're going to probably have a weekend camp out in February, if anybody would be interested in that.
And we're going to invite them to our Seder this year and try to do more things together. So if there's anybody who would like to become a liaison with 1U, kind of as a volunteer activity to kind of keep us in the loop in case I get busy and miss an email or something like that, please let me know and we can sign you up for that role. It wouldn't be. It would be like we would have our fellowship committee if we had that committee. Oktoberfest is a week from today.
Okay, that's why this is here. So the Oktoberfest is a week from today. They're going to be having the meats, but we also could use side dishes. So if you have anything you'd like to bring for your side dish, or you can donate to Carl if you want to donate towards the meats. Okay, so next week.
I mean, I'm making the potato salad. I got to Derek, Facilities and Grounds. There is no workday scheduled for the 19th on account of its Pride, right? So folks are probably going to attend that. However, in light of the impending weather event, next weekend I might need help cleaning up around here. So be on the lookout for like an email for a volunteer opportunity to remove debris. And a little bit of a kind of a good cop or maybe bad cop role here. When we're using the conference room, can we just put it back the way it was when we're done? That would be great, right? Like, restore it to original order, if that would be great. Thanks. See you guys.
Amazing, thank you. All right, so I ask you to settle your hearts and your minds as we settle into our shared sacred space. My opening words today come from Alok Vaid Menon's book. I don't know if I said that right. Beyond the Gender Binary. We want a world where boys can feel, girls can lead, and the rest of us can not only exist, but thrive. This is not about erasing men and women, but rather acknowledging that man and woman are two of many, stars in a constellation that do not compete, but amplify one another's shine. Thank you. Our opening music today is hymn number 38, Morning Has Broken, led by Paula and E.T.
So if you have your books, that would be good. It's number 38. Stand up, put a lot of air inside for singing with. Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the world. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where his feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day. One more time, like on the record. Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the swinging, praise for the morning, praise for them singing fresh from the world.
Thank y'all. Alrighty, our chalice lighter today is Anastasia. She uses she, her pronouns, and she is 11. She's excited because she gets a suit for a wedding. That's awesome. We love that. A suit, like a suit. Alright. So you can join me in our chalice lighting. In the light of truth, in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. We also like to affirm our time here together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another. We'd like to welcome you all here. We are a diverse congregation, and we are now fully lay-led for the time being. We do have Reverend Kathy speaking to us once a month, and we invite members of our community to speak like we have today, as well as different religious leaders, professors, doctors from local colleges, and members of our own congregation, just to name a few. So why don't you go ahead and greet your neighbor. Morning. What does a waterfall sound like? Shh. Oh, that was awesome. That is my favorite sound, and we welcome you to continue that at the end with coffee and conversation. We also have a beautiful online community. If you would turn and wave to the cameras in the back and let them know that we know you're here, even though we can't see you. We love you and appreciate you being here today. And now it is time for Joys and Concerns. Just as I said before, we are streaming online, so just make sure that anything that you don't want spread all over the internet, you keep to yourself. But welcome to anyone who wants to come up, and I can also bring you the mic. Oh, now everybody can be seen by the people online.
Hi, I have a couple joys today. It's my birthday coming up on October 7th. And I start a new job next week.
Hi, Caitlin McElroy. I just wanted to let y'all know that I've been in my choir, Orlando Choral Society, for like a year and a half, and I'm finally actually doing a concert. And I'm just excited about that and nervous, so it's a joy and concern. If anybody's bored tonight, 7 to 9 p.m. at Windermere High School, and yeah, I'm really excited. We're singing Bohemian Rhapsody, so.
So I have a joy. We just voted yesterday. Thank you. And then the concern is that every voter guide that I've seen doesn't have a guide for the judges. And I don't know if that's a legal thing or something, if you're not allowed to do that, but I just want to inform everyone.
What's the website that you're in?
I don't remember the name of the website, but I'll say every judge on that ballot is either a member of the NRA or the Federalist Society. So if you had any concern or wanted to keep any of them, just remember that. So I'll just let you know. Yeah. Oh, I'm in Seminole County.
Yeah,
So
that's
it might be
important.
different. That's true. I'm in Seminole County. If you're not in Seminole County, then maybe your judges are.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. No, yeah.
They're supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a joy and concern. My joy is that on Friday, John and I are flying to Greece, celebrating our 3rd wedding anniversary. So that's exciting. My concern is just for my grandpa. My grandpa just got diagnosed, maybe 2 days ago, stage 4 cancer. It's in his lung. It's not technically lung cancer. He had spindle cell cancer on his head 2 years ago, and they never said you should get screened for your lungs, but apparently the first place it goes to after your head is the lungs. So he never got any screenings. It was totally unexpected. So we're trying to deal with that because it's preventing his heart from working properly now because it's 13 centimeters in diameter, so it's pressing on his heart, which makes he's an AFib. And anyways, it's a cyclical issue. You can't do chemo until this is handled and this until this, whatever. And it's all connected. It really sucks, but he's in good spirits. We'll see him after service today. And I guess another joy is when we're going to Greece, we're also going to the Netherlands to see my Oma. She just had a heart attack that was pretty bad, so we'll be there taking care of her. So I'm excited to see her. It sucks what's going on. It sucks to leave my grandpa, who's local, but I also know it's really important that I see my Oma in the Netherlands. So, thank you.
Hi, I'm Cookie. I have a concern. My brother almost passed away this week, and he's out of the CCU, and he's admitted to another facility. I just want to say that if you're in recovery, if you're struggling, I'm really glad that you made it one more day. Yeah, so I'm really glad that he's alive and with us. I hope he finds recovery and a sense of peace with himself. So far, he's off the external pacemaker because his blood pressure kept bottoming out. But he can't see very well. It's affected his eyes. But I'm just really glad that he's here. So like I said, if you're struggling, people do care. That's all I have to say.
Hi everybody, my name is Luna. Today that me and my mama are gonna walk a jog, but they cannot really hear really well or see really well. But I hope it feels better. And it reminds me that when we were at another dog's house. Mom had to feed it, and I was petting it. It was really cute, and it was very nice.
Good morning. I'm Jules. I just turned 20 yesterday. So, yeah.
I'm Janet, and I'm happy. So many things are going well in my life. I was thinking that a few months ago. I think the only thing I'm really missing in my life is a really good discussion group that's kind of intellectual, but also personal, and I can get to know people in a sort of in-depth way. And now we have something like that, new inquiring minds. So I'm just really happy about that. We had a great discussion today. Thank you those who came. And in 2 weeks we are having our another discussion on AI and ethics. Okay, whoops, that's kind of like an announcement, but it's also a joy. It really is a joy.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. I did enjoy the discussion this morning, and I'm very glad Inquiring Minds has been refreshed and come back. I celebrated my 78th birthday on the auto train 2 weeks ago going up north, and I visited my grandson, went to an arts festival in Maryland in the woods. The woods are different up there, and they're fabulous. And my son and his wife live in Virginia, and friends in Maryland. So good to be with all these nice people. And then I was not going to drive into New York. I had my car with me on the auto train, but New York traffic is beyond me. So I took the Amtrak up to New York City, and then the Long Island Railroad out to Freeport, and had my 60th high school reunion. Guess what? People are nicer. The cliques, the in-group, the out-group, nah, none of that. Everybody's just glad to be alive and having a good time, and that felt wonderful. And I saw people that I haven't seen since I was 17, and nobody lies about their age, because, you were in 3rd grade together, and people did have some of their childhood school pictures that we were able to pick each other out. Oh, it was really wonderful. And then I visited my nephews, so the past couple of days I've been Aunt Linda to my nephews, and meeting a lot of great nieces and great nephews who I'd never met before. When we went to my nephew's house, before he opened the door, he said, "Aunt Linda, all 5 of my grandchildren are here. They're all under 5, and the 2 dogs are here too, so be prepared." When we opened the door, and whoa, man, energy. And the kind of thing when they left, you went, oh, yeah, we survived that. But was wonderful, but I missed my little dog. Oh, my goodness. And he missed me, apparently had some protests. He wouldn't eat for a couple of days, and then he gave up on that. He had other ways of protesting. Let's just say he was pissed and made that clear. But he was overjoyed to see me, and if I had a tail, I would have wagged it too, because I was so happy to be home. So I'm glad to be home too.
I had a joy that I got to go see my mother in the show that she was doing at Ice House. It was the female version of The Odd Couple. I'd never actually... Yes, I was going to do the last day announcement. Yes, I was getting there, Father. Hi. So it is the last day. If you guys want to swing by and see it at the Ice House after service, I believe it's at 2 o'clock? Okay, 2 o'clock. And that was really fun to see her in that. And then, Oh, yay, awesome. Yeah. So we had other members of the congregation that saw it as well. And then my partner Alyssa's birthday is tomorrow, so we're excited to celebrate that. But I am also just going to share the concern that it's been a year since the attack in Israel has started, or in Gaza has started. So just, a lot of people have been lost on both sides, and it's all very sad. So I'm hoping that all, eventually stops and we're able to find a conclusion that stops all the death, because it's just not a good time there, unfortunately. So we're going to take a moment of silence to respect all of the joys that were said and any concerns that remain unspoken. It is now time for all ages, so I'm going to welcome up James.
Thank you very much. So hello everyone, good morning. Today in RE, our kids are going to be beginning the 3-week unit on Hinduism. So today I'm going to be telling you a story from the Panchatantra, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. I watched a little video with the pronunciation, but I'm not 100% sure that I remember it correctly. An ancient Indian collection of fables. While this story isn't necessarily a specifically Hindu story, it does come from the cultural context of a largely Hindu society, and it's a very good story. So I would like to invite up 5 people who would like to act in this story. You can come on up. Here we go. Hello, hello. Anyone else want to come up and volunteer? There we go, there we go. It's okay, no crouching. Okay, awesome, awesome. So I'm going to put the mic aside for a moment to do our castings. Okay, and so now we'll come out here. So someone made a good suggestion that we do this so everyone can see better. Okay, I'll scoot over here and you guys can act right here. Once upon a time, in a forest far, far away, there lived 4 very good friends. A deer, a tortoise, a crow, and 2 little mice. Now, one day, as the friends were playing, they heard a hunter approach. All of them ran for shelter, but the tortoise was slow and was caught by the hunter's net. Now, the tortoise's friends saw what happened and quickly formed a plan to help. Very nice sidekick. The crow flew high up in the sky to locate the hunter. Once the crow spotted him, it signaled to the deer and the mice where to go. Now the hunter was walking home along the forest path with the tortoise in his net when he spotted a deer up ahead, sitting in the path and looking easy to catch. The deer was much bigger than the tortoise and would be a much better prize, so the hunter sat down the net and began to creep up on the deer, hoping to catch it. As soon as he walked away from the net, however, the little mice scurried up and began to chew at it to free the tortoise. As soon as the tortoise was free, the crow called out. You just wave your claws. And the deer jumped up and ran into the trees, leaving the hunter behind empty-handed. All of the friends were safe. Thank you, everyone who helped act out the story. And as I usually do with these, I'm going to go ahead and invite the audience to share some lessons you think you can learn from this story. So just raise your hand and I'll bring the microphone to you. Here we go.
Friendship is the most valuable thing of all.
Very nice, very nice. You're closer, so you go first.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
We all have to work together to get along.
As a group, it's good to play to your strengths.
Your hand up was up first, but you're farther away, so I'm going second. I hope you're okay with that.
The hunter didn't get his meal, so he had to find some other way to eat.
Excuse me. There's a hand back here. Sorry.
Mice have ridiculously sharp teeth.
That is a lesson, yes. Anyone else? There we go.
There is strength in numbers, and plant-based eating can be fun.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the story and you have a wonderful day and week.
As usual, that was awesome. Thank you for all of our actors. All right, and now it is interlude and offering time. We share 40% of our collections gathered with local organizations. The local organization we're sharing with in August, September, and October, I believe, is SALT. It's Service and Love Together. They provide showers and laundry services for people experiencing homelessness. And our hymn will be number 301, Touch the Earth and Reach the Sky, led by Janet and E.T.
So we have sung this quite a few times before, and as usual, we're only doing the first 3 verses. In case you have hymnals, there's more verses, and just ignore 4 and 5. Touch the earth, reach the sky, walk on shore, the spirits fly, over the ocean, over the land. Our faith is our quest to understand. Touch the earth, reach the sky. Children ask the reasons why. In our lives the answers show, and by your love we learn and grow. Touch the earth, reach the sky. All are born and all shall die. Lies the time left in between to follow a star, to live a dream.
We always let the children and teens know that they are more than welcome to stay in the service, but this is the time where we sing our children out. And we love you and bless you and send you on your way. We love you and bless you today and every day. My children friends. All right. It is now my pleasure to welcome up Gina Duncan to talk about her journey of gender diversity.
Good morning. I'm Gina Duncan, and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and it's good to be back. I had the good fortune of speaking with you all, 3 or 4 years ago, And it's, time flies. I think it was pre-COVID, but it's so good to be back with you. I am a transgender advocate. I currently am the CEO and president of the Pride Chamber of Greater Orlando. And as you might know, the Pride Chamber is our chamber of commerce in Orlando, and we have over 5,000 members across the Central Florida area. Previous to that, for the last 10 years, I was with Equality Florida. How many people know Equality Florida? The state's largest LGBTQ civil rights organization, doing amazing work. And certainly an organization that has been very busy over the last decade, to say the least. I have had the good fortune of working with amazing organizations and amazing people. But today I wanted to tell you my personal story and share with you some of the dynamics. And honestly, I have had an amazing life in that I knew at a very early age that I was trans. I still remember the very day that I realized I was transgender. I come from a large family. We lived in Rockaway, New Jersey. I was walking outside. I was 5 years old, flipping a Nerf football in my hands when the Moriartys across the street, the Moriartys had 9 girls. Good Catholic family, kept trying to have that boy, and they had 9 girls. Well, the door burst open and my sisters and the Moriarty sisters come flying out, laden with boas and hats and makeup. And as they went by, my sister grabbed me and said, come with us, we're gonna dress up in the basement. And I still remember the feeling when they finished dabbing polish on my nails and lipstick. I felt for the first time that I could breathe. And I knew that that was a feeling, even back then, I knew that that was a feeling that I would never forget, but I knew that that was a feeling of authenticity. Is that truly who I was? But back in the 50s and 60s, there certainly wasn't any information about being transgender. And coming from a family who was big on sports, I threw myself into being a guy's guy. And really, what makes, I think, my journey so special to me is that I've had the ability to experience things in both genders. Knowing, however, that my gender identity was always female. To be transgender means that your gender identity does not align with what? Your assigned sex at birth, right? And this is a real thing. It is, transgender people have been around forever, and gender identity is truly a real concept in the world. So I threw myself into being a guy's guy, into sports. To this very day, I still hold the home run record at Merritt Island High School over in Brevard County. 6 home runs over the fence. Yeah. I checked on that, by the way, recently, and that record, it still holds. It still holds. Yeah, I was over there for our reunion, and it still holds. But after that, got into sports, played football at Merritt Island High School. I was captain of an undefeated state championship football team in 1973, beating Tallahassee Leon 42-20 in the state championship. Homecoming king, pictures of me standing there and with my girlfriend in her long, beautiful dress, and me in my football gear, thinking, I wish I was in that dress. But I had to go back out there and play another half of football. My entire life I dealt with gender dysphoria in trying to compensate and be the guy's guy. That was my way of coping. Because I was always, it was tugging at me. The gender dysphoria was real, and I never felt like I was truly in my skin. Wasn't truly in the moment. Got a football scholarship to play at East Carolina University under Pat Dye. Hall of Fame coach Pat Dye coached Bo Jackson, played at East Carolina University, was all conference there, vice president of the student body. Came back to Florida, got into banking, got married, had 2 kids, 2 amazing kids who are now in their 30s. Excelled in mortgage banking, worked my way up in the ranks of corporate America, and when I left Wells Fargo, I was the regional manager of Florida, overseeing 26 branches, 285 employees, a multi-million-dollar budget, and still dealing with gender dysphoria. I had branches from Jacksonville to Miami, and to deal with my dysphoria that as the years went by, it got worse. I would travel to Jacksonville, work in the Jacksonville office, check out of there, go to my hotel. I had my stash. I would cross-dress into Gina, and I would simply drive around Jacksonville breathing the air, being my authentic self. That same feeling when I was 5 years old. Did that for quite a while, trying to deal with this never being really in the moment. As my kids became older, going to their graduations in my tie and my suit and my beautiful wife on my arm. I was married for 27 years, raised 2 amazing kids. When I turned 50, I decided I could do it no longer. And if you know anyone who's transgender, you might have heard them say that at some point in time, they can no longer live a lie. And when I turned 50, that was my cutoff point. It was either I have to do something or I just must end this life that is driving me crazy. End this inauthentic, hurtful, never in the moment life. But I know the impacts of my children and my large family and my parents who were so influential in my life. So I decided when I turned 50 as regional manager at Wells Fargo that I was going to transition. And I remember telling my boss over a stiff martini that this was what I was going to do. And you know, I had done my homework, and in doing these trainings with transgender people, I often talk about the components of successfully transitioning and what those elements are and what those steps should be. And part of it is certainly doing your homework in reference to what is your support system around you. Because when a transgender person transitions, everything in their life is at risk. When you think about it. Your relationships, your job, your home, your social circle. All of a sudden you're this football guy, Greg. The next week, you're Gina. And please accept me. This is really who I am. Making yourself that vulnerable that everything in your life is at risk, and hoping that all of those components fall into place. So what we see with transgender people, and the reason, and this is improving, that the suicide rate for transgender people is so high is because all of those risk factors combine to create just a situation that isn't livable anymore. So many transgender people and transgender youth are rejected by their families, by their parents. We hear that all the time. So we create support systems for our trans and non-binary young people. Honestly, the suicide rate for transgender people is most prevalent with middle-aged people. Because like me, we lived for 50 years as Greg, and suddenly we say, well, accept me as Gina after all these years. It's a lot easier, I think, not easier, but sometimes young people are able to transition because they're able to progressively work into that. Where transgender people at my age often, you know, it's really overnight kind of thing in reference to transitioning. But we find that the transgender community is becoming more and more prevalent, and we're finding that the transgender community is becoming more and more vocal in reference to declaring that we are here, we have always been here, and we will always be here in the future. And we're not going away. But at the same time, as you know, the transgender community has been the target for politicians up till, yesterday. The latest, transgender, I'm with you, not with they, them kind of thing, right? You've seen those commercials. But the transgender community is a resilient community. And we often talk about the importance of being visible. And it's harder now than before. And there's a lot of issues there in reference to being visible. Once I transitioned, you go through this physical change. I did everything from $40,000 of facial feminization surgery to get this fabulous face that you see before you. Peeled my forehead back, shaved down my forehead because guys have this ridge here. I have a mesh plate in here, plates here, rhinoplasty, removed my shaved down my Adam's apple, breast augmentation, gender confirmation surgery. Very expensive. So in transitioning, many transgender people face the challenge of not being able to afford to fully transition and maybe look the way they want it to look. So we have this discussion about, as a transgender person, should you be required to pass? Or can we live in a society someday where you might recognize a transgender person and that's okay? Transgender people are another part of our society, right? But within our community, we're always battling to be passable. Because with passability comes safety. And especially right now. With passability comes acceptance. With passability comes less of a threat. You're going to be run off your job. Or that your boss comes to you and say, well, you're an outside salesperson and the people you're calling on just aren't digging you being trans because you look like a guy in a dress. So we get into that conversation about being passable. To this day, you know what's interesting? And this is kind of funny. What do two transgender people say to each other when they pass each other in the grocery aisle? Huh? Hello? Yeah, nothing, yeah. The answer is nothing. And you know why, in a quirky, kind of weird, dynamic that we live in? Is if I go, hey, sis, hey, I'm reading them. And to us, it's like I failed because I'm not passable because they saw that I was trans. Right? And this is that pressure, especially when there's societal pressure in reference to violence and discrimination and things like that to be passable. So the whole grocery thing, I often talk about, getting the community together and us developing some kind of, secret signal where we're like, you look awesome. I see you, I affirm you, I validate you. But it's not there yet. But where we are is a community that is definitely evolving. And we're seeing that the transgender community has evolved to even beyond the binary. Oftentimes when we think about transgender people, we think about someone transitioning male to female or female to male, right? And we also often don't think about our trans masculine brothers, right? People who transition female to male. And interestingly, I have so many trans masculine friends who are very passable. Matter of fact, it's been a political tool for us. I say that kind of coldly, but an advantage of ours is when they first introduced the transgender bathroom ban. And kind of let that sink in that they passed a law that said that I could not use the women's room. You could only use the bathroom that aligns with your birth certificate, your assigned sex at birth. Exactly. Yeah, do you have bathroom monitors in there and that kind of thing? But this was in committee, and this was the first one. They ended up passing one a couple years ago, actually passing it. But we defeated it at Equality Florida because we asked our trans masculine brothers to come to the committee, and we rolled out a half dozen James Bond three-piece suit, bearded, good-looking guys strode to the microphone and said, if you pass this law, I will be in the bathroom with your wife. Right? We had legislators running for the exits because they never thought in that paradigm, right? They were thinking about me. They weren't thinking about trans masculine men, because the whole argument was it wasn't safe for my wife to be in a bathroom with Gina because I was doing this so that I could molest them in the bathroom. The comment was, that's the only reason that they would do such a thing. And that was part of the argument as well. But you see how ludicrous that is, but you also see the dynamics in the community isn't just trans women, you know. But we have also seen over the years, and this has certainly been a generational move, in that we're moving out of the binary of male and female into non-binary, gender-queer people. One of our fastest growing demographics, which I think is an amazingly positive thing for the community. Young people who don't want to be restricted to these social constructs of maleness or femaleness and want to be whoever they want to be. They, them, their pronouns. Not maleness, not femaleness, but in a state of fluidness, or not relating to either or relating to both. Opening up this rainbow of possibilities in reference to how we relate to people. Whether it's pronouns, whether it's bathrooms, whether it's sports, gender diversity opens all of those doors and makes people think more about what's going on. And that's really where we are. Unfortunately, the transgender community has been a political football, as you know. And it makes me crazy in that for the last decade, we've been working to improve transgender rights across the country and really across the world. And we've made great success in doing so. But over the last 4 to 5 years, this administration in Florida has rolled out really a culture war against transgender people, which has been very overt and very oppressive, right? Attacked us with, and think about this as, say you're not trans, but say someone came to you who's running for office or is in office and threatens your health care, takes your health care away. Yeah, I know. Threatens your ability to get long-term health care and medical care for your transgender kids. Prevents you from being identified in schools. Prevents you from using the bathroom that aligns with your gender identity in all state-controlled public places. So we had this issue we had to deal with that kind of speaks to this, is we had conventioners coming into Florida, coming into Orlando, and we were getting requests like, what is the situation in reference to people feeling safe at Orlando International? And according to the law, people coming in from Paris who are transgender would not be able to use the bathroom in the airport that aligns with their gender identity based on the law they passed. You can only use the bathroom that aligns with your assigned sex at birth. The enforcement of that makes it impossible to do so. And this is how we counter it. In the fact that the way this works on paper with this law is that you get challenged by someone. If you don't leave, then they go get law enforcement and come back and then can arrest you. And while they go to get that law enforcement person, you just wait right there until they get back. Right? The first problem with that is that this law developed bathroom vigilantes, where we had husbands standing in the doors of bathrooms at movie theaters, in restaurants, judging if I could use the bathroom or not. Even though that wasn't in the law, certainly. And I was challenged twice in my lifetime in not being able to go to a restroom, and this military-looking guy kind of stepping in front of me and saying, "I think you're going in the wrong place, sir." So the laws are purposely written vague and broad, and in doing so creates this misconception so that people started thinking, well, I won't be able to use the bathroom at a Denny's or at a restaurant. But it doesn't apply to that. But because they're vague and they're broad, that's the case. So we've had this rollout of laws that have been continuing to attack the transgender community, that we've been quite successful in knocking these things off. This last legislative session, out of 22 anti-LGBTQ bills, we killed 21 of those, which was good. And a lot of that was because we were learning the techniques of these nationally orchestrated culture wars that were coming out of like organizations that were manufacturing bills for all kinds of states. We had the Heritage Foundation. They would put out bills for all the Republican, well, I'm not going to get that much into politics, but they had laws that were cookie cutter. They were all worded the same, and they were in all these different states. So we knew that this was, something that was a coordinated effort to attack the community, and something that we needed to have a coordinated response to. And Equality Florida did a really good job of that. I have had the good fortune of recently joining the Pride Chamber and serving as their CEO and president. And we have an adage called equality through economics. And it so relates to my background and the way I feel about society and community and the inclusion of trans and LGBTQ people as a community, in that we need to ensure that people are able to make a living, that they're seen and safe and recognized in the workplace. Because, I remember I talked about all of the things that are impacted when someone transitions. Equality and being discriminated against in the workplace impacts all of those things as well. Whether you're trans or you're gay or you're bi or you're queer or whatever, equality through economics is a real thing that we focus on, and we work to supply resources, information to all of our members so that they're feeling safe and excelling in the workplace and able to do it being their true and authentic selves. I've had the good fortune of being supported by an amazing family. I talk about the risks and things like that. It did cost me a 27-year marriage. And sadly, I was married to the love of my life, who I still love to this day. But she was very honest in saying, hey, I married the middle linebacker. I married the regional manager. I'm not gay. I'm not a lesbian. So I can no longer do this with you. But my large family, I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and we've all had kids and that kind of thing. And I have this amazing support system within my family that continues to this day. I remember when I first came out to my family and said I was going to transition, my mom sat me down. I was very close to my mom, and she said, we need to talk. So we had this very long conversation about what this means, gender identity versus assigned sex at birth, and why do you feel this way, and can you really do this? And at one point I said to her, I said, are you against me doing this? You seem so concerned. And she said, I'm concerned about your safety. And I'm concerned about you being happy. And you know, my mom was my greatest advocate. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters. We had talked about this book that was written by Jennifer Boylan called She's Not There, if you ever want to read about. And it's funny, I read that book, and in the book, those conversations that she had, I kept saying to my family, I could have written these paragraphs. This was right out of my mouth. But my mom went out and bought She's Not There and went and visited my 2 brothers and my 2 sisters and gave them the book and said, Greg is going to come visit you, to kind of pad the way for me coming. And you know, family, they're hearing rumors and all this kind of thing. Oh, Greg's gay. You know. But when I got there, they had read the book, thanks to my mom. And we had substantive, heartfelt conversations that ended with hugs, and I'm here for you, and we want you to be happy. And that's kind of what it's all about, right? It's so important that that support system that is impacted when someone transitions is truly there and stands with them. Whether their transition is bumpy or not, whether they lose their job. I was fortunate in the fact that I wanted to make sure every part of my transition was in place. My job would remain. My boss told me that, you know, we support you completely. Wells Fargo absolutely supports this. I got a call from San Francisco at the home office. They said, you should know that you'll be the 17th person at Wells Fargo to transition on the job. And this was back in 2006. I know, I thought I was going to be something special, but it was like, it was old news to them. It's like, yeah, we got it. They flew in a transition specialist team, a SWAT team, made up of specialists who worked with all my managers up and down the state, worked in educating, communicating, even external clients that I worked with, they worked with them as well. So, in looking at transitioning, all of those components were things that I wanted to make sure were there and I could execute in doing my transition plan. Everything worked except for the relationship with my wife. My kids are here. My son lives right down the street and we see each other all the time, so that's a win. But it's a challenge. And so my message to you, and I might be running long, but my message really is 2 things. Number 1 is, and I know you don't, but don't believe what you see and hear on TV in reference to transgender people. Transgender people simply want to be happy. We don't want to groom anybody. We don't want to influence anyone. We simply want to be ourselves and live a true and authentic life. And then secondly, that we're no threat to the societal norms or the culture of America by wanting to ruin culture by bringing this far-flung, demagoguery into the narrative of our nation. Transgender people have been here since the dawn of time and will continue to be here. I have been very blessed in the fact that I have lived an amazing life as Greg, and I've lived an amazing life as Gina. In doing this work, I've been able to travel the world and speak at places from Milan, Italy, to Quebec, to all over the world, speaking about transgender cultural competency and what it means to be transgender. And hopefully, my goal always is to, if I can open one heart and mind per session when I speak, that's my goal. so that that person will go home and talk to their kids or talk to their family and bring that message of transgender inclusion with them back into society, which is my goal today as well. So thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here. I love the energy that you have here, and I look forward to coming back. And if we have time, questions, anyone have any questions? I always say that no question is off the table, and I've been asked some doozies, so. Yes, sir.
I'm really curious about your work with the Pride Chamber of Commerce, because whenever I think about combating something like the Heritage Foundation or Moms for Liberty, the first thing I think of is that you're dealing with a multi-billion-dollar industry on the conservative front that is trying to oppress these minority groups. And I'm curious, what fundraising mechanisms have you found? What has been effective in, combating this legislation and stuff like that?
Yeah, and that's a really great question. Because these national hate groups, if you will, are well funded and well organized, and they manufacture these bills like crazy. We have found that within the LGBTQ community, we partner with our national partners, Human Rights Campaign, ACLU, all kinds of national organizations, and then we have the state level, and Equality Florida and the state of Florida has been very effective in doing so. But bringing it close to home, and really one of the reasons that I was recently hired by the Chamber was to bring my advocacy piece to the organization. Because chambers, they're businessy. We want to support our business partners. We want to make sure, our corporate partners to small entrepreneurs are all succeeding and things like that. But we wanted to purposely pivot and be in the discussion in supporting LGBTQ businesses in all aspects of workplace equality. Especially, and this is a whole new session, but the weaponization of DE&I, you've heard that, I know. Diversity, equity, inclusion. Gosh, it's a negative term now. Did you know that? Embracing diversity, equity, and inclusion is bad. Right. But we're finding major corporations are truly, who had robust DE&I programs, are putting the brakes on those programs because they're afraid of the backlash either from their employees or related employees or these national hate groups that can target them and impact their businesses. So, to answer your question, a multi-pronged offensive or defensive against these things, working with our national partners, state partners, and then the Chamber being more of an advocacy and government public policy entity, and working with LGBTQ chambers across the state of Florida. We've launched that. We have a GovEd committee now where we get all of the LGBTQ chambers across the state together, and we plan strategy, press conferences, things like that.
I'm sorry, I actually just realized that we're running long. Would you mind staying afterwards so we can answer some more questions?
Be glad to.
Okay.
One more?
Okay, I'm being told by multiple, so I saw Barry first, sorry. Sorry, guys.
This is largely a pretty receptive group. What have you faced when it wasn't really receptive?
Pretty much the worst. But it's made me stronger in doing this work. I remember in the public policy realm, 10 years ago, Equality Florida launched into passing human rights ordinances in every county and city across the state of Florida. We didn't have a state non-discrimination policy, and we couldn't get it done in Tallahassee because of the supermajority there. So we struck out on doing county and city human rights ordinances. Passing in Orange County, Seminole County, ordinances that said that you could not discriminate against a person based on their sexual orientation or gender identity in the area of housing, employment, or public accommodations. We passed 42 of those across the state. that are still there today, protecting LGBTQ people from discrimination in the workplace, or just in using the bathroom or whatever, public accommodations. Well, supplemental to that, sadly, we also had to try to get those passed in very conservative areas who weren't really embracing LGBTQ people. I still remember going home to my home county in Brevard County, Palm Bay. Palm Bay is a very non-LGBTQ receptive place. And I led our presentations of people speaking in front of the county commission, and the retort came from the first speaker who stood up and said, the opposition has to resort to bringing a guy over from Orlando to speak on their behalf because they don't really believe in this. After that meeting, I was followed to my car by two guys, including the guy that said that. And I always walk to my car with someone, but I didn't that evening. And I had parked really far out because I didn't want to get my car keyed because it has bumper stickers and stuff on it. And finally, I had to stop and turn and like kind of bow up on these guys as best I could and scare them off. But truly, I was afraid for my life that time. And I've had cases like that in other areas. So it's, you know, it is something that you have to be really careful about and strategic about in reference to being a smart advocate.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for coming and speaking with us.
Yeah.
I was really interested in your whole trajectory, your whole autobiography. And one thing that really struck me is you're talking about authenticity and gender authenticity. And yet, if I'm not mistaken, and I might be mistaken, everything you've talked about was appearance. You talked about when you're 5-year-olds, you wanted to have, you know, nail polish. Then you talked about wanting to be in your wife's dress, and then you talked about all the surgery, et cetera. People have different ideas about gender, and I firmly believe that there are internal differences between men and women. I mean, not every man, every woman is exactly the same, obviously. But for example, I worked in software engineering at a company which was very masculine, and I noticed that women had different orientation toward technology than men do. And also, some people say women are more nurturing. So in your journey of gender authenticity, did you feel something internal different as a woman? Or the just appearance?
No, on both. And that's a really good question. Because in the various categories of putting us into categories, gender identity and gender expression can be two different things. And I often speak of my daughter as a good example in the fact that my daughter is gay. My daughter presents very masculinely. And I remember in high school having that sit down with my daughter and saying, hey, Mandy, and this was before I came out, and I said, do you think you might be trans? And of course, I've been studying on this and I know quite a bit because she presented very masculinely. And she looked at me like I had two heads. She said, no, I'm gay, and this is how I like to look and feel, but I'm certainly not trans. So that's such a good point in that is two different things. Someone's gender identity versus their gender expression can truly be two different things. Kind of like people who are non-binary, who feel both or neither, dress in a very fluid kind of mode. They don't really want to be in these constructs of looking real maleness or femaleness, things like that, but more fluid. And that's how they feel most authentic. So thank you for bringing that up. It's such a point. For me, I still remember that my biggest thing was I would sit in my office and people would walk by my door and I would see women go by in their open-toed shoes, and that was what drove me crazy. It's like, someday I just want to wear open-toed heels too. That was, I say that somewhat facetiously, but it was a thing for me. We had, yes? Two more questions. It's up to y'all.
So,
Apparently I'm allowed to because you're my sister.
so you have a really interesting background in terms of being a male athlete and trans. there's been a lot of controversy about Title IX and all that kind of nonsense about trans people stealing medals from women.
Yeah.
How can we have conversations with folks who are stuck in that mode about inclusion and diversity in sports?
Yeah. You know, that is a really good question. And honestly, even for me as a transgender person, I'm somewhat torn there. I still remember when this came out, one of my best friends and I were sitting in our living room, and she was a college like soccer player or whatever. And I remember her saying to me, she said, if you got out on the soccer field against me, I would be at a disadvantage. So I really agree with trans sports bans. It's unfair because you are stronger than me. You know, your muscles are thicker than mine or whatever. We have worked with sports organizations in all kinds of ways along these lines. As you might know, the International IOC, the International Olympic Committee, passed very stringent requirements for transgender athletes to participate in their affirmed identities and gender. They had to go through hormones for a certain period of time. They had to be under psychological evaluation. They had to present in a certain level of testosterone or estrogen before they could compete. And they thought they had a formula so that everyone would be on an equal playing field in reference to sports. That has since died. The NCAA tried to do the same thing. 6 months, have to be on hormones, all this kind of thing. And we found that, unfortunately, the NCAA has kind of put that on hold as well. It's a hard subject, frankly, in the fact that even on hormones and over a period of time, I did notice when I took estrogen, I remember my sister hadn't seen me for about 6 months, and she saw me and she said, "You look like you're melting." Of course, that was 30 pounds ago, so don't look at it. But she said, "You look like you're melting," because I had lost all of my muscle mass from having played football. So it is a real thing that hormones do change you physically, but is it enough? And so that is still in a state of flux. And I can honestly see both sides of it. I would love for trans women to be able to compete against other women. And, you know, the stuff that we saw come out of the Olympics with that boxer and that kind of thing, you know, sadly, it still propagates a lot of hatred in the community in reference to, you know, there's a guy beating up on a woman and all this kind of stuff, even though the person wasn't trans. I think there's still some work to be done there. I think we need more science. We need more realistic standards so that we create an even playing field and everyone can compete as they want to. Is that it? Thank you all so much. I appreciate being with you. Thank you. Thank you.
I apologize for going long, y'all. We're going to extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. And we have our closing hymn, which is hymn 1007, which is There's a River Flowing in My Soul, and Gary and E.T. will be leading us.
So Lisa will play a short introduction. You can stand up, Doug. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. And there's little in me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a There's a river flowing in my heart, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my mind.
Thank you. All right, so my closing words are actually coming from that same book by Alak Vaid Menon, which is Beyond the Gender Binary. Some gender non-conforming people are non-binary, and some are men and women. It depends on each person's experience. Two people can look similar and be completely different genders. Gender is not what people look like to other people. It is what we know ourselves to be. No one else should be able to tell you who you are. That's for you to decide. And we do have a postlude, which is song from Sea Pieces, and it'll be performed by E.T. Go in peace, and
Can we just remind everybody if you can stay to help us with the postcards, we sure appreciate it. I think we're going to be meeting in the conference room.
meeting in the conference room for postcards. And thank you. And Gina, would you be willing to stay if some people still have questions? Or yeah, okay. So Gina is staying for questions. Thank you. I know.